because
Yes.
I mean, I've worked with you now on and off for years. Like I've followed you for years, but like I know that I've come in and out of your courses and things. The very first course that I ever bought from you was Sovereign Queen, which I feel like is like your premier sovereignty course. You've since had others. You've had so many others since. Guys, she
Yeah.
is like a course queen. Like if you if you're somebody who like, I need something new every month, Sonia G. It's just like
Thank
there's
you. Yes.
nobody better. Truly, in my opinion,
Because
nobody
we
better.
and there's something for at every level, right? Like we were saying, because it's a progression of consciousness. And so it's you always want to trust yourself to learn, to not go too far. But if something that's advanced calls you, then even though you haven't done any of my work, and probably with you too, the same thing, if something calls you and you feel pulled to it, then it's meant, right? But when you're just like, I don't know where to start, I know that I need something, and then you look at things, the course will call you. And so yes, Sovereign Queen was definitely the beginning of a whole new. When I taught Sovereign Queen, I believe it was in 2021, and we were working with 36 chakras at that
Yeah,
point. So
yeah.
we're beginning the architecture, right? The expansion, the evolution. This has to be, because this is quite the jump, right? In terms of like,
Yes.
so
Guys, if you have been working with just seven,
yeah.
you're about to get your world rocked right here.
So let's start this way. So, like what we were saying, right? When we expand, when we have this Kundalini awakening, and then we also understand that there's layers of us, right? That we're not alone in the universe, that there's infinite consciousness, kind of like let's tie this in well, right? And for somebody like me, that, there's generally experiences that lead you to really dig into certain understanding, because that's the thing. It's like I have to know, right? So for me, it was all of a sudden when your kundalini arises, it's like, where are we going? Right? And it's like it starts to go up and you're like, huh. So, and with all of the experience that I had before, and so again, the conversation before loops in, and staying in this chakra pillar, and what I call the chakra pillar, right? You have this like pineal gland that starts to like illuminates, and you're like, I can see things, right? Like it opens up, you start to see with your third eye, and then you keep going. So as you keep going and you start really connecting to the earth, it's a both ways thing. Like you expand up and you expand down, you just start to become more of who you are. And so you start going all the way, and you reach this point, and I'm going to make it shorter, but the basic numbering system is that of 13. A lot of people, and I really, if there's one thing that anybody like gets from this as you are in this shift, don't stop at 12, go to 13. This is like the most important thing. You want to start with a system, with a basic system of 13. And let's address this here, because in order to incarnate on this planet, our soul had other experiences before, right? Before Earth. We will, outside of time, right? Before time, after time, like the backwards and forwards in times, and through layers of existence and planes of consciousness. So when we come on this planet, we had to agree this planet is a 3D physical system. It's a dense planet, right? We get to have these awesome physical bodies, and we have to agree to certain rules and forget a lot of things that now we call, our clair senses, that we access by clair senses. So when we came in, we agreed to the system of 12, and the system of 12 is basically uh, the patriarchy on the planet. Okay, so this has been since the times of Atlantis. This has been the 12-month calendar, the 12 zodiac sign. Like, think about all the 12s, right? Like, we even have a dozen. We have a name for 12. Like, and so there's a lot of 12s. the 12 hours, everything is based on 12. Well, 12 and then 13 was very much vilified. 13 is the number, Friday the 13th, and 13th was the number of the witches and all of these things. And it's ask yourself why, right? There's 13 moons. The moons is the feminine. Why is our calendar, 12 months if there's 13 moons? Like you start to ask yourself these questions. Well, once you unravel all of that, because I wish we had time for it all, but basically, it's the feminine energy has always been cut, right, from this patriarchal system. I think a lot of people understand this. So there's a lot of records, a lot of Akashic records, a lot of records of knowledge that are held in the consciousness of 12, right? Like the 12 strand DNA, the 12 apostles and Jesus. Okay. Like there's a 12 plus one. You start looking and then you start seeing a 12 plus one. Even in our zodiac, it's 13. There's 12 plus one because we cut out the serpent, which is a ficus, which is the serpent knowledge, the actual framework to rise up and out of the zodiac set wheel. So, which is it's a shared sign, but there's a lot of that. There's a lot of like the hidden plus one in that 12 framework. So you start looking and you realize that 12 needs 13 in order to express. And I know that we're speaking in numbers and this is numbers architecture, but basically 12 is a finite system that keeps you on the earth realms. 13 is where you find the higher self. 13 is where you find the connection to the higher realms. It's the first set. It's like an octave of in a harmonic, which we're starting to get like into bigger words, but it's a whole complete set. Okay. So 13 gets to be both encompassing of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. And this is its early octave. So this is the basis of where we want to unlock all of the different systems. Now, let's equate this to the body because many people understand that there's 12 strands of DNA. Well, there's then also the body is so coded to 12, right? But the 13th is your higher consciousness that comes in and will operate everything. So there it's a 12 plus 1 system. Our DNA strands plug into chakras because chakras are portals. You don't have just 7 strands of DNA. You have 12. This is like science, right? But then really it's 13. And so it's that 12 plus 1 in the way that it all comes in. And so ask yourself, right? If you're plugging in 7 into your physical, like known chakras, where do the others ones go? What about the nerves in my cranium? Like, how do they connect? Like, this is all, I mean, it keeps on going. And once we light up, to me, it looks like the best way of explaining it, it's like a ladder or like an elevator where you turn on the lights or like a Christmas tree and the lights go on. It's like, ooh, I can understand this level of consciousness. I can it's like ding, 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 the higher we go. Just like when people, right, activate their heart chakra, it's like, whoa, this explosion of light and love and da, 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 da. And then you start coming into your throat chakra and you're like, shit, I got to speak my truth. I have to say what it is. I can't hold back anymore. I have to find my voice. There's no more abuse, right? And then you come into your third eye and you're like, I see things. Oh my gosh. Like, and they're everything. And then you go out from your crown chakra into your soul star chakra, and you start finding records of pre-planetary experiences. You start tracking where you are, which gateway you came in from, if it was through, one side or the other side, and, like the systems of the Pleiades, the systems of Arcturus, and all of the line of you can go as far back, just like genealogy on the planet. You can find, who your parents were. You can find where you were in consciousness. Now, this is significant because it's not that's consciousness that's separate from who you are. It's just easier to access in a higher state of consciousness when you are very focused on what you're looking for. And then once you see it and you recognize it and you find yourself, right, within these higher realms of consciousness, then what happens is your body loses the density, it drops in, it activates, it integrates, and then you remember, and then it's in your body, right? We're clearing old memories, old traumas, old distortions in the body, all of the stories that are held in millennia of bloodlines on earth. We're clearing all that out and we're bringing in the higher consciousness. So it keeps on going, right? And so the basic system of 13 goes through till 39, but then it keeps going. And
Yep.
so yeah, and so it keeps going. Now, but let's work with the 13, because once you understand 13, it's so much easier to understand, right? Everything else. So on this 13th chakra, this is where you have access to your higher self. And people that have, superpowers, as I call them, like your third eye and your psychic senses, this is where you meet your family that has passed on. You can meet your like guides, your angels. Like this is kind of like it's not kind of like it's a portal point for different layers. Like it's a convergence point where you can go and really get some answers, ask some questions. There's a lot of possibilities of different astral projections there. Once you are in coherence with what we call your higher self, okay, and you are together with your higher self, you are in a level of safety in the body and in your experience of reality that you don't have if you just do things without this higher connection. And for every level, right? So then there's a higher self, there's a galactic self, there's your God self, there's your goddess self. Like there are layers. And every time you bring the coherence in, every time you unify, you go into self union of who you are, your mind is like, wow, more circuits open, right? Like we start to use more of our brain, like everything plugs in, everything connects, your DNA lights up. Like, so in all of this, there's new levels of awarenesses that are coming in deeper than in the chakras that are being held in the bones. And this is really the new stuff that I have been after mapping all of the layers and unwinding and connecting our DNA literally all the way to creator and to asking those big questions and really understanding the concept of God, angels, the universe, the good, the bad, like all of these things, the goddess, like you have to really go there, right? Then you start to, which is why a lot of people now are either going back to religion, finding Jesus, finding consciousness. Like there's this movement
Yep.
of understanding, and I'm going to say it in this way, like nothing is ever separate. Everything is always an infinite connection. It's just how we choose to subscribe to it, how we choose to experience it, where we want to live it from. Right. But it's all always connected. And of course, if you are not in sovereignty and you fall for a distorted system because they're easier, well, that's on you. But generally
Mhm.
speaking, we all have the opportunity and the ability to grow and advance in consciousness, just like in every layer of the world, right? So as we continue to go, we discover the bone deep connections, right? So if every chakra connects to different planetary fields. And this is the known knowledge. So we're going back to like the 90s, right? Like we know, for example, that the heart connects to the consciousness of Venus, right? And to stars. Like we know that, the willpower, solar plexus, it goes to Mars. Like there have been connections. How were these connections established, right? Like obviously, because it's a system where everything is mirrored. So what's inside, it's out, right? It's as within, so without. So
I
in
was just
this,
thinking
yeah,
Hermes. Yep.
yep, exactly. So as we keep going, and the pieces plug in and the DNA awakens and you remember more and you're like, oh my gosh, my higher self is me. I'm the higher self. My galactic self is me. I'm the galactic self. Like everything comes in and you're working with so much light and we're bringing light, which is information in the body, right? And we're bringing in and we're anchoring it into the earth, and the earth is remembering and bringing all of this knowledge up. The earth is shifting. The earth is definitely having massive shifts with us, right? All of the Schumann resonance blasts and etc. And so as we get higher in light that gets higher is plasma light. Plasma light at its core is flame. Flame is in the bones, like will connect not to your physical like pieces of your body, but well, I guess bones are physical, but not to the tissues, not to your chakras. It will connect to your bones. Okay. And this is when I talk about flame, it's not fire that burns, it's the eternal, ever burning light that is so intense that is actually flame. And this is something that we haven't been able to hold in consciousness on the planet for a really long time. But in the ancient times, it was always fire, it was always flame. Even Moses saw the burning bush, and everybody, me included, was like, whatever. He thought God was a burning bush. You know what I mean? Like there was that because we didn't know, right? And it's always the nature of the thing. We don't know what we don't know. But now that I'm discovering the flame, because light gets so intense that it becomes flame, literally, you feel like you catch fire in a sense. And you're like, oh my God, this makes so much sense. All the things that the mythologies and the stories that have been told, it's like, it makes sense. We just didn't perceive it, in that way. We weren't ready for it. And if you don't sustain, for example, for a lot of people that are still dormant and they're still asleep, it's hard for them to be into a lot of light, right? Like a lot of light because it's a lot of information. They're like, whoa, like my mind is splitting. I can't handle it. And it's the same thing. The higher you go, in a sense, in consciousness, when it comes to flame, it's like you really have to have the voltage and the nervous system capacity to be able to hold it, because all of a sudden it's bigger, it's so expanded. And so it requires structural understand like structural frameworks, like structural capacity, and for you to have done the work to clear certain things in order to hold. You can't just unplug from 120 volts and go and plug into 220 and be like, I wasn't ready for it. And all of a sudden you're like burnt and your adrenals are out, right? Like that's not what we want. We want to actually like build the divine architecture inside. And so that this is, the great work that's been my mission is really creating this architecture for us to be able to hold the fullness of who we are. So in this, the knowledge that is now awakening is flame-based consciousness, which is light, which is information, and then love, and then also the power of creation. So the flame holds, it's like a weave of three different layers of consciousness, if this is what we want to call in. They come together. And so love without light can be very confusing. Creation without light can be confusing. Creation without love, right? So it really has to be all of these three at this depth. And that consciousness, it goes as deep as our bones. You feel it in your bones. You don't feel it in your the other parts of your bodies. That's where it's contained. It's like bone deep consciousness that we're working with. And so this has been, the great exploratory work beyond 39D in the realm of all of the secrets that have been like so distorted on this planet. I'm calling it the realm of the goddess, and all of this knowledge that's truly bone deep and connects to ancient star systems and stargates and planetary fields, like the ancient monoliths where so many conscious stories are still held. There are frameworks on this planet that have not been able to be understood for a very long time because we simply didn't have this level of knowledge. So,
Yeah, especially with so much, dying and different civilizations falling because they're misusing power, or they were missing certain pieces. So not surprising at all that as you're like saying this, I was like, okay, people have got to be connecting that like there have been breadcrumbs throughout history
yep.
of the flame. Solar harmonics is another name that you call it,
Yes.
of this technology, and from the indigenous peoples all around the world always sitting around a fire to and all of the burning bush like you said. So one of
Also,
the
can
other
we have like, let's bring in the chariots of fire from the
yes
Bible and from like in the Vedas, right? Like they talk about these things, and we were always like, yeah, that's, kind of like
yes
Zeus and the chariot of fire in Greek mythology. Like it's everywhere. And so once you
yes
understand it, you're like, holy shit, it was always there. But we just took it as myth, right? Like many people were so disconnected from the possibility of star beings or aliens, right? We call them star beings, like until all of a sudden it's like on CNN that President Trump is in conversations with other alien races, for technology. And it's like, okay, now people are like, yeah, right, we're going to integrate that, right? But it's just we get to keep expanding just because it's not said. Yeah.
correct. So
Mhm.
one of the things that you have said is that this new element, this new technology that you're
Mhm.
bringing in, that you're helping to build an architecture for and a structure for, is you're considering it the divine descent. Can you
Yes.
explain that?
Yes. Whew, this is exciting. Okay. So,
I was like, I get to ask this question because I don't think she's talked about this anywhere else, not even like on your socials yet. I'm
yes,
like,
you're like
I know you've
you're the first
used that
person to ask me
term.
this in real like in a whole, interview moment or podcast moment. So, this is how it works. We were talking about awakening and then ascension, okay, which everybody understands as the concept of becoming lighter and it in we get more crystalline in our body and we transmute the carbon. Like we let things go, we forgive things, we bring more of who we are inside. So there's a level of ascension where we really reach the entirety of what we can stretch to. And in the context of what I create in the architecture and the way that I see it, right, we reach all the way through to beyond the galaxy. Like we start to really explore, like even the consciousness of Andromeda, we start to remember, these lives in different consciousness, the way that 5D system works, the way that 7D system works, like the way that it works in the realms of creation, the way that it like you start to remember being literally a star or birthing a galaxy. Like, I mean, it is like, right? But you have a nervous system and you have a mental framework and an emotional framework and a physical, power that sustains all that. So they're not fragmented, disassociative experiences, right? You are all of these things. And so as we're holding this, um, once you explore it and once you know it, right? Kind of like you can read a textbook and you have an awareness, right? Ascension was kind of like that. The descension or the divine embodiment is now we actually get to hold all of that in this physical body. Like we get to hold the entirety of who we are as divine beings, divine infinite beings with as much of that infinity as we can fit into the physical body. This is the true part that we came through. This is the light body, except it's a flame body, right? So it goes from light body to, it crystallizes, and that's the flame body. Like we literally are through the intense layers of harmonious work that we do, right? So through the light, through the anchoring, through the releasing, through the somatic work, like there's so much work that we get to do, but we're literally clearing out the old circuitry, the way that things were working. And we're bringing in these circuits that are divine circuitry that sustain a harmonious flow of divine consciousness in the body. And the earth is doing the same thing. These are what I'm calling the harmonic grids. These are the original templates of the divine human, which stories have been told of us of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, right? Where they were walking with the gods on the planet. Or many light workers have remembrances of being in Egypt, where it was an interstellar and multi layered well, existence on the planet, right? We were literally an interstellar civilization. And so there were beings from, in multidimensional layers living in Egypt. And so if you remember that, right, you could call it the gods and the humans together also. We have different examples. We also have Atlantis, right? Like we have different examples and different memories of what that looks like. Well, those templates, which I'm calling the Eden templates, because that's where it made sense to me, like where everything was in harmony, the stories that we hear. But those templates are reawakening, and a template is a set of codices that holds a structure for which we can we can anchor into, almost like we all agree to certain traffic laws. And so if you go through a red light, you may get hit, right? There's just certain codices of how to do life. I know that traffic is like a
Yeah.
different way, but it's like, okay, like once you are, shifted, and once you understand, like you're like, oh, this is now how my body gets to feel. This is how my body gets to operate. This is how I get to perceive, organize, and create, from the place where I'm at now. So anyways, this is the earth is preparing as we are bringing in this divine consciousness, this divine intelligence to operate the physical body, because we have all these systems that all we've done, right, and to what you're doing, to the work that you're doing, all we've done is we've said, oh yeah, I guess all of the years of ancient knowledge that was in sync with the systems of the earths, and like the rhythms of everything that's like nature, were thrown out, because now we have modern medicine, that gives us don't get me started on this, different things to just like forget, what it is. But now we're looking at how the system was built, and the capacity of the human body in a new light, because we're operating with flame and our bones are coming online, right? And so we're connecting now, we're connecting in a much higher way, and we can hold the experience of being in full connection with God consciousness constantly as we are in the body, because you remember that you're not separate. But now it's not just a remembrance, it's not just an ascension, it's a descension, right? It's like one short way of saying it would be like, it's like God coming fully more in the body, right? Like your God consciousness really being present. That's a long answer, but I want to make sure that it makes sense, because it's not like, it's like, oh, ascension is over, we're going to die. Like, it's like, no, this was always the thing. This was always the thing. We get to transform this human form into a form that is fully divine, like the divine human. Ah,
And to be able to see what is truly after, I like, or not after, what is possible for the human body in this state. One of the things that I tell my students is you guys have to understand that at some point there's only so much that this physical body can ascend before, or like change before it's no longer what we know of as human. And therefore, then our consciousness changes inside of how we're connected. And it will change in how we incarnate, if we even are incarnating in this at all. There's lots of questions out there that, like, not even that nobody has the answer to, or that we haven't even asked the question yet.
yep.
And somebody will, but like, if you're not ready for the answer to potentially be that we're not going to be in this form anymore, then you're really not, you haven't gotten there yet. Like you have to, you're
Yeah.
missing the plot. You're missing part of the plot. But I
Mhm.
think what's so beautiful about this is that we're saying how far can we push the human body in order to be able to house our infinite consciousness and our infinite awareness and all
I'm
of
going to
the
say
things that
harmonize instead of push. Yes.
yes,
Yes.
harmonize it, yes, so that
Yes.
it all is
Mhm.
living cohesively
Mhm.
inside of who we are, and that we have access to the information and knowledge that goes so far beyond what we know of in this
In
this.
this framework we see. Yes. Yes.
I don't like calling it reality really because it's like, what is reality? But that's
Yeah.
really meta. We don't need to go there.
It's true. It's
But
our it's our living e- version of what we see and what we experience, our living experience. Yeah.
yeah, I think, and this may be me starting an entirely different conversation. So please let me know if this is something that we just can't like to talk about right here this second.
I know we
But
could go down some rabbit holes. Yeah.
I know, but in relation to what you were just saying about this is about expansion and harmonization inside of the body and with our consciousness and going far greater than where we are right now and where people have been in the past, or maybe a reconnecting with where we were in the ancient times. Do you feel like this is that this new technology, the flame, the solar harmonics, is about stopping death?
That's a good question. And there's a lot of things that are coming out in new research about like death as a program, right? And like there's a lot of information that's coming out. Death is it's a rite of passage, and I do believe that it's an initiation, right? And in the way that I believe, in the way that I see it, and the way that I understand this experience of consciousness that we're having here, for some people that will be a thing because there are new souls on this planet. Not everybody is here for the kind of experience that we are. Some people are here because it's their first incarnation and they're like, whoa, physical world, right? Like from floating consciousness into here, and they're just like baby souls. Some of us are older souls, like ancient souls, like founding souls. Like we actually have been around lots of different systems. So for us, this is different. This is a different opportunity. That's why it's like, don't judge other people. Like everybody, like, inside we have that internal clock, like we said at the beginning. But I believe that for some, yes, it redefines death completely
Mm.
because what is death? Death is leaving the density of this body behind in order to continue in the eternal consciousness of the soul, in the continuous consciousness of the soul. Now, and I'm going to bring it back to Jesus, and there has been other examples, okay, but we're going to bring it back here, okay.
It's the one we know most
It's
between the
the one
two.
we know most, yeah.
And I know you've
So
studied it a lot, so.
right, correct. So what Jesus did, right, is he died because of all the circumstances, and his spirit retook possession of the body, right? Like he had to leave and then come back. And then that was the light body. It was the flame body. It was the conscious. And then he took his body and continued, right? Like his spirit and his body were together in a way that defied gravity, that defied density, and that continued to operate. Now, that's the thing, right? So it's for some of us, that's the stuff that we came for, because there's a difference. And for a lot of people, it's important to understand how special the human body is and what an extraordinary experience we have, and how many in the galaxy and the universe would like to be here in this moment of now where we're capable of doing this, because it's quite the experience, right? So there's definitely been a selective process for us to be here, because it's the greatest piece of intelligence and sophistication that we could possibly have, right? That's why it's like the temple of the body. It's like so important. Yes, it's been disconnected and it's been unplugged, but the now that we're replugging it, right? What happens is, if we can bring our light body, flame body with us onto the next experience, whew, it's a whole different realm, because you get to keep your conscious stream of information. You know how right now we don't remember, and then we are like, oh, I just remember the
Mhm.
past life, or I just remembered this, right? We're bringing all
Yep.
of it back. Imagine continuity of memory, because you have all of this technology with you that you have plugged in to the point where you can fly, right? Let's just keep it simple, where you can fly with it, and you can go and explore different way of living in this way, in other systems. And it's like it's a whole different ballgame, instead of having to wait for a physical form to be available on Venus, on Jupiter, wherever you want to go live next. You have to like put in your application and you're floating there, a spirit without a physical form. No, seriously, like, I mean, this is the thing. You're like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you get to be a spirit, right? You get to be an angelic form. You don't eat, you don't get to experience what it feels like to taste, to feel on your skin, to have the level of lovemaking that we experience as humans, right? Like, you're missing all of these senses. And, it's a way of being free, but it's also a lesser way of self-expression, which is the reason why our soul, our spirit, like, wanted to incarnate here. So how cool would it be to have access to all of that with these senses? Like, if we can transform the body and take it with us, I mean, that is the fucking goal. Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Mhm.
So do last thing, because I could
I
keep you
know.
here forever. And I would not feel bad about it.
It's a good
But
thing. It's a good thing I love you. Yeah.
but with this idea, right? This knowledge of that's the goal is essentially
Mhm.
to Christ ourselves, to be Christed. Like to
I
is
don't
that
want it to,
a
to make people feel like, okay, this is not,
right?
like, yeah,
Not everybody's supposed to be Jesus or to like do what he did,
yeah.
but that idea of, but if you are linking the idea of like
Mhm.
the Christ it is to die, come out of your body and come back in and reclaim your body, reclaim the
Except
flame
we
body,
won't be dying. Yeah.
except we
He
won't be
did it
dying.
because he had to
Yes,
do it that way. We are rebirthing in the body.
correct. So it's
Yeah.
this idea of that divine dissension basically being that you are raising your frequency, raising your consciousness up, and then coming back down into the body to reclaim the body, being able to then take that with us when we're saying, okay, we're done with this particular incarnation and lifetime. Do you feel like that is something that we'll be able to decide so that it's like, okay, me and my loved ones, we're ready to go. We've all done this divine dissension process, and now we can all decide to go together? Do you feel like that is something that we'll be able to decide, or do you feel
Wait,
like, go ahead?
yeah, if people are going to be together. Yes, because at that level you will find each other. You're not going to be lost, right? Like, you're in a level of full coherence with who you are. And we have all, like, soul families, like, we have known each other through eons, right? Like, we've played
Mhm.
different roles. And so with our families, like, these aren't people at this level, of what we're doing, this level of the game, as we say. It's
Mhm.
they're not new, we've had lifetimes together in different ways, in experiences, in learning and growth. And so we're going to recognize each other in a split second, right? Like once the transition occurs. Now, of course, there's a lot of people that are like, all they're going to do is like, oh, it's time, like this is my transition moment. Like in death process, it's like, go to the light. Well, like if you're not set up and if you don't know, I get that it's like, it's totally weird. Like for me, I know where I'm going. Like I literally recently sat down with my parents and I was like, okay, you need to know what happens and how to move through and where you need to go. Like this is what's going on, right? But a lot of people are like, wait, doesn't family come to pick you up? Like, I mean, there's all sorts of different things, but that is a whole other conversation. But the beauty of what you can do, right? So you get to have this flame body, this let's call it resurrected body, right? This Christed consciousness, if this is what we want to call it. But basically it's a body that can take form on earth and that you can travel with. It's like having your Merkaba built into the body. So now you can go in a body that looks like your body, right? On Venus with the beings that are, with the Venusians, and you look in like this, but you're in a form that can sustain that travel. You can go hang out with the Syrians, right? And you will look the way that you look because you have this body, like you actually own this body. You don't have to leave it. And so it's so different because then you can go and work, you get like, I don't know, let's call it a travel visa, and you travel, like you can go to different planets and you don't have to just be there like hovering over like an angel or an archangel. Does that make sense? Like they have a different role.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it makes sense
And we
for
love our
why,
angels and our archangels. But
right.
yeah,
Well,
we're in
and it
this
makes
phase.
sense.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And it makes sense for why pretty much everyone, like you were saying before, wants to come here now to this time if this is what is possible for us, because it clearly was not an option for other types of beings and is very specific to what this playground has formulated. Whether it be an accident or somebody not like, there are a couple of different histories of how this planet was seeded and different star beings playing with the genetics and things like that. Whatever it is that makes it that humans have this ability, or the human body has this ability when consciousness is present, it definitely makes sense for why everything out there is like, hello, Earth,
It's a
let's do
big
this.
deal. Yeah. And let's say this too, because you talked about solar harmonics, and I feel like this kind of completes the conversation. So a lot of this shift, and I'm going to tie it all back in, a lot of this shift from 12 to 13 in consciousness, from patriarchy to true divine feminine, everything that has been hidden, right? Not the distorted the things that we've known, but the like not the expression of the feminine within a patriarchal system, but the expression of the divine feminine and then the expression of the divine masculine, like in full coherence, right? And then in unity, which is, I mean, even we know the twin flames. We've heard of twin, like everybody talks about twin flames, and it's like, but we didn't actually think that it was actually flame consciousness. Like I mean, me first, I'm like, oh my gosh, it was always there. Okay, so back to what we're saying, the 12 to 13, once you integrate the consciousness of like the moon and the moon cycles, and you come back to the rhythms of your body, like the work that we were saying before in Sovereign Queen, right? Like you get in rhythm, especially women with our cycle, right? With our blood, like there's a rhythm that has been in dancing with the moon cycles for a very long time. Well, what's happened is now, because we have it's a matter of outgrowing it. Some people, until you're integrated with it and it makes sense, the 13 moons and 13, and now you're like solid on your 13. But then we shift to the solar consciousness. So from moon conscious, we shift from uh lunar feminine, it's to solar feminine. not solar masculine, but to solar feminine. And right now, this year is a year of solar maximum, which like the sun has like it takes 11 years, right? The sun has a 22-year cycle. Like after 11 years, we get to this maximum, and now we're going to start kind of, the descending of this maximum cycle. But up till now, the sun has been in this ascension with us, broadcasting more and more light, rays, plasma, everything's come in until we got to the flame, we got to the core. And now that we have this access, right, it's not going to be as intense, the broadcasts and the awakenings and like all of the stimulations is not going to be as intense from the sun. And that's when we get to bring it in the body. But this is the solar feminine, solar divine feminine consciousness, when you get to shift in these higher, just bigger rhythms, right? And bigger cycles. And that's where you remember all the distortions with like Ra and Egypt and all of these things. Like, oh my gosh, the stories have been mistold for so long. It's the consciousness of the, of the flame of the goddess that was present, at the beginning, like when gods and humans were walking together, which really is the concept of this flame body, the light body, is the fact that you can bring your body and travel, and you're fine to be wherever because your body is crystallized. You have a flame body. So yeah, this kind of brings like together the whole thing. And that's so awesome.
It's so cool.
And I'm going to say one more thing, because for everybody that's like, what the fuck ever, this is blowing my mind. Think of it this way. Because, these are conversations of my soul. And so think of it this way. Look at the new babies, right? And the kids that are coming in now, and their level of consciousness and what they're capable of comprehending, what they're capable of grasping, is so beyond what we were like raised in. Why? Because the consciousness and the density of the planet has rarefied. Like we have been in ascension, so they don't have to deal. We have done so much of this work of anchoring grids, of doing the light work, that now they can plug into the higher frameworks, like the higher light grids, and they don't have to plug into all of the bullshit anymore, right? Like, and so these kids are like so bright and so aware and like geniuses, and understand consciousness in a whole other way and see things, right? Because of the work that we've done. And so this is evidence, like it's all evidence. And then, as always, as I say, it's like, my life is living proof. Like your life is like, it's the way that we live that's like, holy shit, you get to have like, this expansive, like solar awareness, like divine self in this physical body, and living and experiencing life to the fullest, traveling, exploring the earth, like being with friends, being in community. Like this is not a life of isolation. This is like, once you start to understand that you're in creation, is like, what else can I experience on this planet that, serves the purpose of my soul's expansion and that feels amazing? What else can I create? So it's totally different, it's a different circuitry. Yeah.
Love it. I love it. You guys, this is like what I live for. You guys, I get so bored. And anybody who knows me is like, Abigail lives for this shit because I need my mind like stimulated. And this is the type of stuff that I adore so much. And Sonia, thank you so much. I adore you so much. And I can't tell you how much I just like how much I owe you, truly. Like I don't think there are words for how much I there's you can see
We were
there's no
always
words.
meant to find, I love you. We were always meant to find each other. And that's the thing, right? It's like everything that, and this works for everybody. And I love this and I can't wait, and I know that there's people that, your students feel that way about you. It's like our work gets to be the baseline for others to create and to build on. And, we get like, how cool is this? And yeah, thank you. And I love you. I love your mission. I love that you're going for it. And it's so exciting.
Thank you.
everything that we're
I
doing.
like that means like everything coming from you, truly. Thank you. Guys, I cannot wait for you guys to work with her. I'm gonna drop all of the things down in the show
Yeah,
notes,
send the
all of the
links. Come
places.
in and find me on Instagram. It's at Starborn Human. Because obviously Starborn Human, divine human.
Oh,
Yeah.
wonderful. Thank you so much once again for being here and for doing this conversation with me and being a part of it. I cannot tell you enough how much I love you and how much I appreciate you and all of the work that you're doing. And I'm so glad that you're doing it and that you're not letting anyone slow you down or stop you because it's so desperately needed. Guys, thank you so much for joining us for this Breath of Life conversations. See you next time on the next one. Bye, everyone.